What's up, guys?
No.
Welcome.
No. So cooked.
Welcome to Chims and Talk.
What's going on?
All the credits.
I just wanna talk with my brothers. Is that too much to ask? Might as well look sharp, cause I'm doing it too. Trims and talk. Trims and talk. Trims and talk. I wanna know.
Sorry, I'm going to get comfortable now.
Yes.
I know this has been in the making since Steph kind of mentioned your name. I think she did mention your name a while back. But the reality is, because I've been doing a lot of stuff around East Rock, for years, for probably since, I can't remember. Since Paul Blomfield and all those Labour guys came, and they did that thing for Somaliland, the recognition of Somaliland as a state. Because I did the video for that very thing, and then there was a trip that was taken back home. You're talking so Adam Youssef, Ahmed Mahmoud, all those guys have been. And you've been in Sheffield all this time.
I have been in Sheffield all this time. I moved to Sheffield 2004.
Oh.
I had 3 children here. One of them is about to be 19. I lived in Sheffield for a long time in comparison to other cities, because growing up in the UK, and if you move around, the one that you think sticks to you is your home. So Sheffield became my home. 2004. But the reason I moved to Sheffield was we had only one child and we could move anywhere. If we get my husband doing his PhD and me just finishing, and me just looking for jobs. So I became a research assistant to a project involving Somalis here in Sheffield University. That's how I moved.
Because
do you remember Gina Higginbottom?
I do remember. I was supposed to go to Gina Higginbottom's 70th. She had the 70th in August.
She's lovely.
Because she was a professor of health.
Yes.
And then she went to Canada.
Yeah, she came
and whenever you
back.
talk to Gina's brilliant, because she will say she's proud of what she's done, because she's
I'm one of the people that she trained. She's just
because she's a girl from Pittsmore.
Yeah.
This girl from Pittsmore who ends up as a professor of health, who actually I think she got some award from the Canadians recently as well.
Ethnicity and
So
health.
she is one we need to talk to, is Gina.
Our Gina is just. She can tell you stories about the health visiting and nursing in the early days to being where she is. She's in Nottingham now.
Yeah.
As a professor.
Yeah.
And
so she was an inspiration for you.
When I applied for the job and I walked into that room and I sat down, she was like, "Right, that's my girl." And I was like, "Oh, this lady's pregnant."
Yeah. So on that point, then, Kaltum, because I've seen you in a sense around for quite a long while now, but I do remember going to an event at Broomspring.
Yeah.
And I think it was the Green Party.
Oh, yes.
And you were talking there
about race equality.
Yes, and I remember thinking, I was inspired myself by what you had to say. There was a young man there as well. Who was really very inspiring.
It was the councillor Malachi.
Yes, he was inspiring as well. But on that note, I was just want to explore with you this idea about, seeing someone ahead of you and what that might mean to you, as a person, but as a black woman, as a Somali woman there. How important do you see that then?
Honestly, when I was growing up in London, I'm just going to start there.
Yes.
When I was growing up in London, I was brought up by my sister, who was at the time when I was living with her, she was just a teenager herself, 19 years old. And then all of a sudden she was handled this child to kind of go through schooling, all the way through. And one of the things that I learned from her was resilience, but respect. And when you see somebody who's doing something positive, somebody that you can identify with, and then you have to say, well done, thank you for representing me, because I don't have many people who look like me on this platform, but also, what can I help you with? Just because the person is ahead of you doesn't mean that they actually got it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to kind of approach the person and say, if you're struggling, you know, in a space, remember we're here.
Yeah.
And so that's what I usually see.
I quite like what you said about thank. You know, because one of the things we've been talking about in our conversations is, you know, A, how do you accept a compliment? And B, we should turn it around, to give a compliment, to say to somebody, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Without that, you know, you're not building the sort of like the depth of, friendship, love, the relationship itself. They'd say, I appreciate what you have done for me.
Yeah.
How, so I mean, like you're talking about growing up in London. How old were you and what was London like at that time?
London in my teenage years was just as if though you've just been dumped in a world of... I didn't speak any English. I had to take 3 buses to my school.
So how old were you when you came to the UK then?
I was 11, going to be 12. And I was taken to these schools that didn't really... I didn't speak any English. I needed somebody to kind of show me the things. I knew all the bad words though, because you learn them first. Sorry about that. But the school I went to, I mean, looking back, not only when I had my children, but looking back when I moved on to do like undergraduate, I remember thinking about how much the area was deprived, how much my school wasn't really the most brilliant, not because they weren't doing the job, it's because they weren't funded. And also the school was heavily minoritized, racially minoritized.
So what part of London was that?
Neaston.
Neaston, northwest. Yep.
So you can imagine, the school has renamed itself as something else, but it used to be called John Kelly Girls High School. And there was another school behind us called William Gladstone, so both of them were deprived.
I applied for a job there once. I didn't go for it in the end.
And one of the things that kind of makes me think, you said, how did it feel? There wasn't much of a cultural war or problems in terms of what's happening around now, but there was. You go through Kilburn and you see like heavy, Irish and African Caribbean community living side by side, and the bus is. If you take the bus 16 from Marble Arch all the way to my school, you can actually see the colourful of multicultural communities. And I felt really just safe going through the areas that, classed as deprived and all Black and Asian. Wouldn't dare go to Finchley until my sister who lived in Finchley, I moved in with her, and I was like, I'm in another world. So growing up for me was... I didn't have a mentor other than my sister. We didn't have youth clubs where I thought, it's a youth club. Not in terms of religion, I didn't wear the hijab. I didn't really follow. Of course, I'm Muslim. Praying was definitely, you must pray. And then the next time you're just walking out with no hijab. Yeah. So, but I remember going for my career services, speak to them about what do I do next. So the school sends us to Brent Council, career services at that time. And I remember, and I told this story, I think you were there when I was telling it, weren't you? I remember going and speaking to a gentleman, a white man, and a career service advisor, and I'm like, I'd like to do this. I don't know about economics, but I don't mind doing media. You know how kids are. Yeah. But a deeply, deeply disturbing words from him made me think, I'm going to fight this. Yeah.
So what did he say then to you?
So what he said to me, he said, there's no point in trying to actually go to university because people like you don't really amount to that kind of level. The other thing he said to me was, you can do social care because you don't need skills for that. Now, no disrespect to social care. They do the best job looking after the elderly and vulnerable. But I went home and I told my sister, and she said, what are you going to do with that? I said, I'm going to use it. She said, use it. However you want to use it, use it. You're going to complain, scream, or you can actually show him. So fast forwarding a few years later, I came back to collect my grant, because we were given grants then.
Yes.
So I came to collect my grant from the same building on Wembley Triangle, where the Brent was, Brent Career Services was, and I looked for him.
Did you find him?
Yeah. And they said, you have no appointment. I said, no, 3 years ago he told me all about nothing. But he's still sitting on the same seat. But I am actually doing social anthropology with development studies to actually ask about colonialism and racism. But I've been fully funded. Same people who are paying him. Thank you very much. I just told them that. And then I left and I was crying outside. I cried outside.
You were able to tell him.
So my sister say, what are you going to do? I'll use it however you want to use it. I used it that way. And I tell this story now because our young people will not have someone saying that, but it's all hidden and symbolic. So it's not very verbal. Now, that guy was brave enough to say it, or I don't know, whatever enough, but people will not
But it
say
gets
that
said in
how
different ways. That
You
sort
get
of
it.
limiting people, putting people into lanes, gets said in different ways. And that can be so damaging for young people. I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, young people there who, they can't, you know, we talked before about, you don't see many people like yourself doing some of the things you might want to do. So you can't be what you can't see. So when you try to put, you know, reach out, and then someone just puts you down, you know, slams you down as a young person, alongside all the other things you might be experiencing, that can be really damaging to your sense of self there. And you do get a sense sometimes for some, you know, the fragility, the vulnerability of many young people, most young people.
So how
I was
I mean,
always a fighter, though. I was
Is it?
sometimes I'd be a little bit scared and go, oh gosh, I don't want to say
We
that.
all need a bit of that.
but where did that come from, though? That sense of
I think that kind of me responding like that came from, I'm going to be honest, it came from me having a very young age. At the age of 5, I had disability. So it's probably the fight and negotiation with when kids are free to do what they want to do. I wanted to join in. So that itself, because I broke my hip when I was 5 years old. And that is, you know, I'm still having abrasions now. But that came from the negotiation on the playground, negotiation on the, you know, like when you're growing up in Africa, it's not a playground, everywhere is a playground.
everywhere is a playground, it's true, it's true.
The negotiation with the boys, you know, kicking their ball when you're not supposed to be, you know, kicking the football back to them, that kind of thing. But it also comes from my family. I'm the youngest of many, many. And I've never been told I can't do it. I've always been told, be kind, but do it, you can do it, you know. Again, also my mum used to take children, look, in countries like Somalia and other African countries, there is no foster system. So the clan affiliation or village affiliation becomes the foster parent. You know, it becomes that. So my mum always looked after kids who were part of our family. Of course, they are cousins and related to us, but she never actually just kept them not go to school, because we all went to school. And she would buy the uniform. When a child comes to our house, she would go and buy the uniform, take them to school. And she would believe in education really, really well. But she'd never been educated herself.
So she's an inspiration to you.
She was.
And, you know, when you come to the UK, age 11, was she here already and she sent for you?
No, my mum wasn't. She was back home. My mum passed away later on. But it's just the women in my family, as well as the men, kind of stepping away and saying, you guys can do it. You know? You guys
So
can
when
do
you
it.
came
My
to
brother's saying, yeah, you're doing that, go ahead. If you need any help, let us know, but you can do it. You
So
know?
did you come to your sister then when you came to the UK?
Yeah, I was unaccompanied.
Unaccompanied.
So,
And then you go to your sister.
Own.
So there you are, 11.
Yeah.
You come to this completely different place. And London at that.
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah, and I remember first time, it was winter, and I came out of the Heathrow, came out of the airport, and I ran back in. I was like, "What's this?" And it was snowing. It was heavily snowing. I came through Kenya, and it was heavily snowing. because they had to call on the tannoy to say, you know, who is picking up, can you come here? And my sister and my cousin, you know, collected me from there. And then, well, I didn't know that, but they had a bag full of, you know, winter clothes for me to change. But they were like, go ahead. And I'm wearing sandals and a little, you know, little dress. Yeah. I was like, I'm not going. That's all that white thing. It's cold. And that's the first time you see a snow. It's like first time you see a giraffe.
Yes, true. No, that's very, very true.
It's quite overwhelming.
So for you then, I mean, that's a major, you know, sort of like changing your life.
Yeah.
You know, from back home in Somalia to come to the UK, you've left your mom behind as well. Yeah. You're meeting your sister there, your siblings. I mean, how did you manage that then?
I managed first because of being Somali, the culture, the religion. You know, you kind of have to keep yourself to yourself because you know, and also living with a girl who wouldn't take any, you know, misbehavior from me. That was also another thing. Yeah. She automatically became a parent, but I had older cousins who were also guardians of both of us. But it's how you know, how you made, well, you're not intimidated or scared, but you are told, whatever you do is going to come and bite you later on, you know, just, you know, keep it, you know, keep it safe. But even that continued when I went to live in a boarding college in Oxford, where my sister put my bag down, and I was older then. She put my bag down and she said, it's just you and these four walls and that door. So you look after yourself. And that's how the kind of mentality is, you're responsible for your actions. You know, have respect for people, but also start with yourself. You know, if, whatever you do, and it's a bit crude, but she said, look after here and look after down there. So you can just imagine, it's like, don't drink, don't take drugs, and make sure that you respect yourself as a woman. You know?
Yeah, because one of the things that you said earlier when we were talking, you said something about wherever you go, you are a representative not only of yourself, but of your family and your community.
Yes, you are. You're responsible. Yeah. And if you are, I mean, I don't like this whole idea of I'm the first of this, I'm first of that. But it becomes inevitable where we are underrepresented in different platforms, and then somebody has to do it and be the first. But that is, you did that, but you didn't do it yourself. You did it because either the community's needs or advocating for different, you know, generations of the community and feeling really fed up of not having that authority or that, you know, platform, or people have encouraged you and pushed you towards. So we don't do anything ourselves. Yeah, we do a collective. If you flip that
one around, then I mean, it's a bit like, you know, when something bad happens, and let's say it's someone from within your community, are we supposed to feel responsible for it?
I think, you know what? I think you do feel responsible.
We do, but should we? I said the question, should we? We do, but should we?
You know, we have, in my language, we have a term, umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, which is sort of, in essence, says, a person is a person because of people, which, you know, like that, you know, Pan-Africanism, of ethos of Ubuntu, I am because we are. I think sometimes it's like, you know, the recent thing that happened in the States when that young man was his life was taken. The first thought is, I hope it's not one of us. You see what I'm saying?
We have been,
but isn't that, you know, I totally agree with you. But that then means that we have to carry an extra burden.
Yes, we do.
You know, someone's wrongdoing isn't my wrongdoing.
Unfortunately,
but it can be seen like that.
Yes. Yeah. I think unfortunately we are bunched into a we are put all of us who are heavily melanated, we are put in a box. So if one of us misbehaves, the whole community is viewed that way. Unfortunately, you know.
And it no, I agree. It's that whole thing of us and them, they did this, they're responsible for this, and we do carry the burden of that. For example, what happened in Southport, we didn't even know who was who and what was what. And you've seen, nurses going to the work place were being, chased, but they weren't same color as that person, same religion as that person. But it's that whole division of us and them, and it's not something that we just see in current politics and platforms. It's something that's embedded into policies, embedded into everything, every aspect, and every fabric of many societies. The minoritized gets the blame for every.
And with that, Kaltum, we were talking, about because in terms of your trajectory there. I'll come to this, but you said you went to a boarding college in Oxford. And he's going to get somewhere to your PhD. What was that then? And I want to come back to this whole idea about this area about
this is where, when I was growing up, and I think many people from the Somali community or English as a second language, growing up having English as a second language, people would agree with me, is we have always been asked to translate for the elders in the community. You become a young activist. You don't know whether you are, but you are. You see how the doctor is talking to this elderly woman that is not related to you. You share the language. So I remember just being asked to take aunties to, welfare advice and just translate. Because I never lost my Somali. This is another reason why my Somali is fluent, because I was always either translating for elderly people or talking to people. And sometime in my life, I sat down and I realized, actually, am I an active person to kind of advocate for people? And I think the person who embedded that into me is my sister, because she was always going to rallies to do Mamu Abu Jamal was arrested and all of these other things happening, and Malcolm X days. And I'm always accompanying her through Tottenham to Wood Green to all these different places. And you take that in, don't you? So going to that college, I already went into that college, which was trade unionist college. And it's that college itself kind of shapes you in the sense of speaking for workers' rights. But I think by the time I went, it kind of resonated with me. There was another college I was supposed to go to for women only to do my, what you would call now the BA. The A-level.
It's called Ruskin then?
Ruskin College.
So you went to Ruskin College?
I went to Ruskin College.
John Prescott was a Ruskin College
I know.
Yes.
So I took a few years, and then I thought, okay, well, I need A-levels, GCSEs and A-levels and stuff, and Ruskin College, and there were few of us who were the youngest who've never been to being part of trade unions, and I was the only first Somali to go to that college. And I remember just complaining about the food. How am I doing? I was like, you had David Kitts and you have Stephen Biko, but you can't get the food right. And they were like, gosh, we've got a problem here. So how is it trade union if you can't even get the food right?
But you were the first.
I was the first Somali, I think, to go to that college, because I remember sitting with then the principal of the college, and because I complained about the food, I kind of went into a rant about what's the point of potatoes, and he was like, tell me about it.
You're not talking to Irish trade unionists, because they're going to do it.
I know, but I was saying, why is it that you're dressing potatoes in a different way, and he's still feeding us potatoes? Can we just, you put a jacket on it, you fry it, you know. Can we put other things in there as well?
Was it all potatoes then?
They introduced, but they had really good cook. I loved their cook. She was brilliant. She said, "Sit down, Kaltum. What do you want?" And then we introduced the curry nights. So we had, Indian nights. Where we had Wednesdays or Thursdays. I don't remember. But when I was in that college, and I've learned a lot from other people who had obviously lived experience of trade unions and representation, and I was really, it was a good cohort that I learned a lot from, and I'm really proud I went to that college because some of my mindset is kind of being shaped.
We've
that
never
way.
had an Oxford graduate on the show before, so it's a first
I'm
for
not an
us.
Oxford graduate. Just Ruskin College, just Ruskin, which is obviously being supported by the university for the working man's college.
Yes.
Yeah.
But some of the people who go there don't just go there; they go there with their lived experience. We had
Yes.
people from Royal Air Force, nurses, people who worked with different trade unions across the board, people who lived in South Africa and did trade
So
unions.
for you then, that was a grounded in being able to sort
It
of
has
like
been.
be with many different types of people
was
from
really
many
brilliant.
different types of background.
Yeah, beautiful minds that came together, and also some of us much older than me and kind of much more experienced, some of them my age, some of them just started their trade unions and have been given the chance to go. But while I was there, I would have been the Kaltum, who would be the Turnberg, because while I was there was a refugee camp, refugee detention centre called Camsfield in Oxford. And I found out, because of this is an activist college, I found out, and there was a board say, we're collecting things for the refugees and asylum seekers in Camsfield. I got really interested in that. So I would take the bus and I would go to Camsfield. I would look what it looks like. And there's a whole gate outside, group 4, looking at me going, what's that little girl doing? But I took my drums. I had a drum, so I took a bongo and I would sit outside Camsfield and I would just play my bongo, boom, boom, on until I get tired and then I'll come back. So they realized, they said, where does she go? And I told them I go to Camsfield. And they're like, why didn't you tell us? So the whole of the student union and the students said, well, we'll go. So there was always a group of us going on the bus on Sundays. College made lunch for us to go. So I kind of started that. In the end, we were collecting toiletries and other, phone cards and things from shops and holding events and then giving it to the people that they're keeping in there. Camsfield's been closed for years, by the way.
Yeah, we just get new ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's been obviously very
So
important.
my
for you.
activism is kind of like just has always been there. And when I cannot stand outside and shout, I spend it in advocating for people.
Yeah.
So my first job that's been ever given to me was immigration advisor. I was just translating for them, and then when I finished, they went, "You need to come in now because you have the skills to advocate for new asylum seekers." So that was my first ever job.
So where was the reference point for? Because we always talk about, I mean, I know personally, I always talk about, kind of, my process is, unless I see somebody doing the thing, sometimes it's like, either you think probably it's not doable or it doesn't exist. But in your case, who were the people you looked up to, or the people who were the archetype of that what you wanted to become?
The first person I've seen in politics was Diana Abbott. My sister literally took me and said, I'm going to take you somewhere today. Let's go and see this lady. Because, oh my God, we have a black woman as elected MP. And then I'm standing there, and I'm looking at her going, and what does she do? You're not really interested in a way, but you're really kind of thinking, I'm in House of Parliament with this amazing woman. It's seeing women who, although my sister was just a single young woman looking after me and being really active, also seeing women who were struggling, coming to this country in the UK and struggling, and there was no one mentoring me or supporting me as the two of us, but also these women were going out of their way negotiating a system that really is not for them. They don't speak the language, there might not be racism, but there is always in the system. But there were active Somali community organizations in East London, in North London. Often we would be taken to youth clubs or youth activities in Wales, Snowdonia and all of that. So there were always people doing things and saying, can you come to this? But then there was always Eid time. You would see loads of people who are welcoming new refugees and asylum seekers from the Somali community. But for me, it was the fact that I'm looking at all of these things, and I'm thinking about the fact that I didn't just come up with be an activist. I'm kind of collecting and sponging, how best to help people. But what would I like for people to help me? And I didn't actually get many people coming their way saying, come on, we can help you.
Yeah.
And so kind of thinking, well, just because I didn't get it doesn't mean I can't do it. Women around me who were really, really struggling when I was younger, and I would babysit for them, and I'd be thinking, what did she used to be a banker in Somalia? What was she a lecturer in Somalia, and she's struggling because she can't afford a babysitter.
And when you say it like that, and what that must also be for those individuals and the families then, where you were something back home.
Yeah.
You were someone who had a status, and you come here, you've lost enough already. Here you're seen as a nobody. I mean, we've had people on the podcast already who said that. Said, back home, I am this. Yeah. Here I am this.
Absolutely.
And that must be also very traumatic as well for those individuals, and also for the families themselves. Absolutely. It must be really difficult as well there.
Yeah, it is a trauma. It so happens that when I started going back to Somaliland, and I haven't been back to Somalia or other places, but in that part where I come from, I can actually see the middle class families, upper class families, their buildings, their houses, and then you can see how they're struggling here with their kids, and over there you can see how much land they left behind. It's the kind of downwardly mobile. You become absolutely the bottom of the people who get.
And you said they're still actively downwardly mobile. Is that something you believe?
Yeah, because once your status changes, if you're leaving your country with nothing, you're starting from scratch.
Oh yes.
And there's a poet who happens to be related to me, and I sent him a little book, just in Canada, and I said, can everybody sign my little book? Where girls say, today I wasn't like that. I just said, can you guys just sign my book? So forever I can keep this book. And so I sent it to Canada with my sister in her bag. One of them signed it. And he said a poem that translates, you might be given food, you might be given clothes for your back, but you are always somebody who sleeps somebody else's house or outside their house. So, and the way the poem goes, so I say the poem in Somali. Inkastoo qalaad seexatiyo qada lagu dhiibo, so you'll be given food. Oo qaawanaan kala tagtaan quudna lagu siiyo. So you're not naked anymore, you've been given clothes. Qolqol kale nin seexdaa tahoo laga qashaafaaya. You are somebody who sleeps outside somebody's house that nobody wants them to be there.
That's beautiful.
Well, it is very much the mood at the moment.
That's how it changed.
Yeah, because did that feed in? Because one of the other things we were talking about before was about your area of study, your PhD, because that notion you said about being outside of the house, about being downwardly mobile, about the trauma, etc. One of the things which we've seen in Sheffield, we saw it about 15 years ago. Yeah. There was a lot of difficulties with Somali young men experiencing,
absolutely,
they were being the victims of.
Well, shall I talk about my PhD?
Yes.
And because when I was in Ruskin, I did sociology, where everybody else was doing other things. I was like, I want to do sociology.
Yes.
And in the end, they said, you can do anthropology or criminology. I chose anthropology because I thought, if I do anthropology, I could decolonize everybody.
I thought you could.
But like, if they use anthropology,
you need to have ambition and vision.
Like, oh gosh, that's my activism going on
so
crazy.
Why sociology first?
When I looked at all the courses that they were providing in the college, to be fair, there was women's studies, there's labor studies, there were different things, economics, there was no geography, and I saw sociology, and I thought, you know what, I fancy myself learning about sociology, because everything I do, I'm looking at how do people think about, how do people do this. I'm advocating, I'm talking about inequalities all the time, anywhere, there I am, this might help my course. But then, did I actually do my BA when I moved on to university? I was given second year, 3 universities gave me second year anthropology, because they said, what you've already done there is like equivalent to first year, so you can just start second year anthropology. And I didn't want to do that, because I was like, listen, I'm going to go Jomo Kenyatta on this. I'm going to learn, I'm going to look facing Mount Kenya kind of thing. So I just want to start from the beginning. So I chose social anthropology with development studies. And that development studies is kind of like a season. And I remember just thinking, yes, we've got development studies part of it, but it was a season of looking at colonialism and after.
Okay.
And so kind of preparing us to use, anthropology as maybe if we're doing the decolonization, which it's a new word that later on I learned, but I was doing it over there. But that's why I chose that. In terms of my PhD, which I'm editing, is done. I can see the light under over there and under the tunnel. Yes, there has been issues of many issues in the last. Well, you and I talked about earlier about the Somali boys, and also other things that are happening around. But when you look at my research, is about where does the family fit into and the responses to youth violence.
Oh, okay.
So when we say youth violence involving young people, but when this is being responded, where does the family fit into? And I'm interviewing a group of people that have never had any chance to say their side, Somali mothers, because many years I have been the first contact of false accusations, stubborn surges, exclusion from schools, vitalities involving knife crime, or the other way around, or perpetrator or victim going through the CPS and criminal justice system, advocating, supporting, getting mums to listen to, mums and dads, but mainly mums, to the point where I would be contacted, I'd go to the hospital, go to the family, and then the whole circle of things, and then that case comes to court, and there I am with them as well. So I thought, well, actually, I'm already there.
Yeah.
I need to listen to these mums. Yeah. And it's not just the mums I spoke to overall, the overarching different generations of community members, but those are the narrative chapters of those mums who had to go through.
And would you say these mums are not being listened to?
No, because the way I'm looking at, if we look at all the responses to, let's just say, youth violence, some of the responses from the government policies and others were actually having a box of chicken to kind of do the knife campaign to send it to the community. Very racist kind of way of thinking, isn't it? But if you're not listening to the people who are affected by this, if you're not listening to the communities, if you're not listening to the young people themselves, if you're not accepting that there's the structural racism in schools, in the criminal justice system, in hospitals or health or public health or councils or or funding of community organizations that deal with or support their communities, if none of those things are happening, how are you responding? That it doesn't. It's a symbolic violence. You're saying, I'm responding without involving you. I'm addressing the issue without involving you.
So my
voice is not there.
So the moms then, with all of that, how do they feel then? Do you get a sense that they feel that they've got agency, they've got some sort of like some ability to change things, or is it we can't change anything? Which in itself is when you have because it can feed into the relationship you have with your children. If you feel you've got some agency, then that tells your children they've got some agency.
Well, because obviously I haven't finished, so there are things and areas that I cannot talk about.
I would love to talk about you more.
Politics in research.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is, in my experience of supporting mums, I even traveled to London prior to my research. I traveled to London to actually just support some mums. Traveled to Birmingham, traveled to Liverpool and other places where I just wanted to support those mums.
Okay.
They have the agency, because otherwise they wouldn't be talking about it. So people have the agency to talk about. But they see the authority not listening. So where you actually see, for example, when it comes to lawyers and representations, if you don't know anybody in your community to represent your child, then you have the agency to actually say, I need help. So community organizations can help. But some of the issues that I've seen, even in those in London, is we have the agency, but there is no signposting, supported signposting, support mums. And it's not just Somali mums. It's actually, when you think about mums who have lost their children to either to the criminal justice system or to the joint enterprise or to knife crime. There needs to be some signposting to support.
But it can start so early, can't it? I mean, we mentioned Muna before, and I listened to Muna did a series of podcasts, I remember, some while ago. And there was one I remember she did, which was about the nursery school and nursery teachers saying that they didn't have any racism. Muna basically just sort of like in this...
Racism in education.
Yeah, it was like, no, this is not the case at all there. But I know from my own experience that throughout those school years there, a child who might experience some difficulties, let's call it some psychological, emotional difficulties, that so often they didn't get any support. What they were just seen as trouble. And you saw that. I had this one occasion where there were one Friday, we interviewed three white middle-class girls who'd all been to a psychological hospital. And, they needed it and they got the support. On the Monday, we interviewed three black lads, two of whom were Somali. These three black lads had not received any psychological support. When they were at primary school, they got excluded. When they went to secondary school, they got a day at secondary school and they got excluded for violence. But you're talking about an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old who is displaying some violent behaviour. To my mind, that says there is something. They need help.
They need assessment.
That's what you need.
Support,
you need some form of support. And that isn't happening. And then you can see the trajectory, which is, we know that if they're 11 plus and they're on the street, then there's a few people out there ready to pick them up. It's, I think for majority of not necessarily Somali community, the racially minoritized mums and parents, when you come to a new country, you're negotiating the system for your children, and it's difficult enough because it's not really something you're used to. Authority that you were scared of, and you came to this country. This is also an authority. People you're asking help. To help you. So even the school becomes the authority. Oh, the school is a big authority.
Exactly. The authority that you're scared of. If I speak, what if they do that? And when we're talking about education and racism, I kid you not, every single time, myself and this women that I go to school with, and we're both from the African heritage family community, we look at each other and we laugh because we can see that really we're not part of this school, are we? Kind of business. And you just think, oh my gosh, yes, okay. And it doesn't matter how you try. those of us who speak, full English and kind of understand the system and can ask questions. But then when you look at some of those mums of those 3 boys, they might not have been supported also within the community, because our communities, we really do need to do better in making sure that we share our experience to those mums and new mums and dads whose children are going through. It doesn't matter if you were born here, but it's the first time that your child who happens to be black or brown going into school, you really need to be supported by the community.
You've got children, haven't you?
I have 4 boys.
4 boys.
Oh, yes.
And are they in school?
I've seen.
Yeah, are they in school?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so is that, what you're talking about, as a mum of 4 boys in school, what's that like?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Thank you very much.
How do you do it?
How do I do it? Oh gosh, how do I do many things? My eldest one is 23. He was the one who was born in Brighton, and I moved here. And he's working, and he's done. His schooling is done. Yeah. But he was the one child that I learned everything on, because your first child is your experiment, to the world of schools and that. And the second child, I honestly remember mixed heritage children or black children, especially boys, are treated differently. And I remember a teacher literally labeling him when he was just 7 as aggressive. And I remember her giving us, the Angry Birds thing. And I remember me going back to the school and saying, if he ever ends up in your class, I'm taking him away from school. But because she saw me as aggressive black woman, she couldn't say you're aggressive, so she had to go on to say my son is, while he was just a kid in the classroom. And so for me, I negotiated so many things, but everything that I learned, if I see a mum struggling with the same thing, I would actually go and say, right, let's go to the schools. So many schools I actually accompanied mums, and especially in this side of the city where I was living. And when I became a councillor, first school I visited was a school that has been excluding a child illegally, because he was a special education needs child, who actually, they tried their best, and it was just the educational system in the council was not doing what they were supposed to be doing. The school tried. The first day I became a councillor, the second week, I actually went to that school, and I said, do you think I can now represent him because he's one of my constituents? And it took me like a year and a half. I got him into a school that wasn't that one, but a specialized school.
So you've been a councillor as well?
Yes.
All right. So.
Oh gosh, I opened that.
Yeah, you didn't you?
So that's the thing.
So councillor as well. So how long? What got you into be a councillor?
Yeah,
I knew that was coming.
Green Party also.
Yeah.
I've been fascinated. I'm fascinated
with how people get into politics. I always say that people say I don't do politics. We all do politics.
Oh yes.
We all do politics. This is politics.
Yes.
We all do politics through when you have activism and academia together. It's kind of where I am now, and I think I've always been activist. And then when I put academia into it, it's kind of like answering the questions. But to put that pure politics and being elected, when I was in Brighton, we looked for political parties. When you're a student, you think, yeah, okay, let's go and go to societies and that. And we set up something called the Africa Forum. They were African Caribbean group, but then we also set up something called Africa Forum. And I remember meeting this guy called Eric. He was a Dr. Eric from Uganda. And he said, if you think you're not doing politics, what you just started, you guys, is politics. So don't think anything you're doing is not politics. Every question you ask is politics. You're always doing politics. It's just a different hat, different platforms, and different moments of your life. So when I came to Sheffield, my husband and I looked at who do we vote for, when they're sending all these leaflets. And I looked at one of them, I'm not even going to mention the name, and then I looked at another one, and I was like, right, let them come and knock the door. I remember the guy who knocked the door, and by then I already know there's loads of youth issues going on, loads of some sort of like small, perhaps, groups of people dealing drugs in the area. And I don't know anyone. And I looked at him and I said, what are you going to do about the youth issues? As if though I had a 3-year-old. But I was like, what are you going to do about it? Because I can see the boys standing around half nowhere. And he said something, but he only applied what he was saying to me. When he was talking to me, he was calling me a sister because I'm wearing a hijab. But when he was talking to my husband, he was speaking a different tone because he was talking to a white man. And I thought, nah, you can't do it. Both of us went, okay, thank you. We closed the door, and I was like, he spoke to me differently. And he spoke to you differently as a white man. And I'm not going to do this. So I went to the Greens. The Greens knocked the door the next day, and I said, right, I'll help you campaign. And they had one councillor, and I helped them every time they're coming out. We voted for them. You start with voting, don't you? So having conversation. But I've been supportive to the first Green councillor in that area was Dr. Gillian Creasy.
Yeah, I remember.
I remember just you remember telling me, and I just knocked doors with her. In the end, I stayed being Green until Machid walked into my house.
He's the next lonely boy.
With Gillian, and then I went, he looks Somali, and he went, I am Somali. And I was really just happy, racialized, from somebody from our community is standing. And I said, honestly, I'm going to get you elected. And he made the same promise, so we got each other elected. And so it was quite fun to kind of make sure that matching. And
now we have a Lord
board.
Mayor from the Somali community.
Yeah, and we also have a young Sophia.
Yeah.
We also have Malachi Habe, who is a young person.
Yeah, he's very, very good.
He's really outspoken, isn't he? But it's the seat I was sitting in. So I believe in passing the baton. I don't like holding on to things that I can pass to young people. And he was 18. He was 18 years old when I was elected, and he said, "I want to be a councillor or MP one day." And I said, "Yeah, do me a favor. You finished your university," and he was already finishing. So he finished 4 years later. 3 years later, I contacted him. He contacted me and he said, I'm still interested. And I went, fine, that's fine. The seat is warm. I'll keep it warm for you. You can come. And it was really easy to get him elected because being born and brought up in an area, being a young person, having the world of experience in helping, like I said, when you're young, you translate, you interpret, you become activists, by helping so many young people, even at a very young age, through Unity Gym. It was just for us.
Can I just mention Unity Gym, because we both went to an event back in this summer with Unity Gym, and they were brilliant, and they're the young people there speaking, and and what came out for me was the way in which they actively seek to support the young people, the young men in particular, with their health, their mental health. And there was a young man there who was a mental health nurse who was really brilliant.
Oh, yeah, he's brilliant,
And, it just got me thinking there about young people who get this drive, this energy, and then they're going to go into, in a sense, the system. There's a mental health nurse there. Absolutely. But hopefully being in a place where actually they can help the system to be better than what it is, because we know that a lot of people are going into hospitals and they're not getting the sort of support they should get. I mean, the figures for black men and Somali men, black and Somali men, is still incredibly high, isn't it?
It was really disheartening growing up and hearing, my sister being an activist, but also hearing from other people like her, going to communities, whether it's Wood Green or Ten Park Lane or North London and East London, and going to these African Caribbean, African heritage communities and hearing how black men are sanctioned all the time, all the time. How many of them died while they were being taken to hospital, and also going to these rallies where we're like, someone died in your custody, and it's not something new to us. Black men have been, put into mental health institutions for a very long time in the UK. The UK actually has to be ashamed of itself for doing that for years and years, but for things not to change in 2025, and we're still talking about it, we're still disheartening. Yeah. Even though we do have things that are changing within our communities, in accepting, understanding, working together, amplifying what each other is doing, it still feels that not our brothers didn't actually go to these institutions for no reason. We learned, but we learned the hard way. Yeah. But what is changing is not changing from up there in terms of...
Well, it's not, and because, the figures, in a sense, don't lie, do they? People, colleagues at SACMA who go into the hospitals, they'll come back and they'll say to you, this is the number of Somali men in the hospitals. This is the number of African and Caribbean men in the hospitals there. And they're disproportionately high, which was really what was also the counter to that, was the work of Unity. Jim, in terms of on the ground supporting those young men, not only supporting those young men who need help in a sense now, but also young men who then can use it as a platform for something else. And in the case of that young man in particular, to become a mental health nurse, he'll be a brilliant mental health nurse.
I think he's going to be amazing. And also the kind of confidence that he exuded when
how he spoke to the audience.
I know. But that's the thing. It's like... Because for me, I think, like I was saying that, a lot of, I spent one of my very, very good friends is Somali. So my exposure to the community and the kind of confidence that, the young people in the Somali community seem to have. And they seem to be this, a strategic way of working around the community that is, as much as it's inclusive, but it empowers its young people. Because I think that's missing in many other communities. I don't think there's even a Zimbabwe community in
That's true, I know.
Well, mate, it doesn't exist. There might be, and you're not in it.
No, it does not exist. Come on. There might be, but I'm not in. No, it does not exist. I don't think it does. No, actually, because me and Kambinga spoke about this recently, and I said, dude, because he was regaling me with tales of, this group for this thing is doing it, this Zimbabwe. I'm like, dude, I've never been invited to any of these things. You know what I mean? I don't know but
there is that kind of unity of Somalis. I know what you mean. There's the Somalis who came to Sheffield in the past or in the UK came through, working with the British Army or mining or steel industry, and there was that kind of I suppose I should say the nomadic kind of lineage mentality of stay with your people, do that. So that kind of makes them close-knit, stick to your people, that kind of pastoralist, nomadic kind of mentality. But when they came here, some of them actually obviously struggled because of the, no dogs, no Irish, no blacks. That's when they came. And they kind of had to be closer to the Yemeni community here as well, where they share the language. So you can actually, language and religion, some of the language and religion. But it's who did they identify themselves with? And because even that, it's looking after each other, but also being with a community, comes really not easy, but with a struggle. But it is what Somali community do. For example, we would go to an event, and there's 7 Somali girls in that event of 100 people. You can guarantee the 7 girls are sitting together. It's kind of like
safety in numbers.
Identifying each other, but also that's just a cultural kind of closeness and kinship. But the way that Unity Gym, and because my research is collaborative research with Unity Gym, my advisors are from Unity Gym. The steering group are Unity Gym. And when I say, collaborative, it's like fully collaborative, from A to Z, where they design the questions and everything about it, from the ethics to everything, and delivery, and obviously later on would be probably dotted around the city, but will be delivered. But there are elements of my research that talks about trauma, stigma, and mental illness, because you cannot talk about something violent and not really think about those issues. And what they've been doing, and it's really great, is I can debrief with them once I do an interview. So sitting down with these young advisors and actually debrief, having that debriefed with them and saying, I've just done an interview and how do you feel? How calming it is for me. Some of them are my son's age. How calming it is to kind of sit with them where they
So
kind
how
of like...
you said about stigma. I'm taking that you're taking stigma in reference to mental health issues. How with younger members of the Somali community, how are they seeing mental health illness?
Honestly, mental health, there are specific illnesses that culturally are taboo in different, communities, right? In the Somali community, I think I would say, like 10 years ago, I would say it's a huge taboo to have mental illness. Things have been chipped away in terms of that. And we need the work that you've both witnessed at that the Unity Gym did with the university. If we have young people addressing and talking about mental illness, I think the older generation will be like, what were we worried about? But it's still a stigmatization that goes on. There's a lot more sympathetic way in the religious aspect of it. When the person is ill, if you're actually using the religion for coping, there's that sympathetic way of saying, Allah. Allah give you shifa, and it's meant to be, but we need to be supportive. But overall, it's like any other illnesses, whether it was tuberculosis, HIV, cancer, all these other illnesses that that we know our communities have had, this idea of that being a taboo. Mental illness is in there as well, and I think the more we talk about it, the more we ask those who do health promotion, especially public health, the more we say, call them out and say, remove any structural racism. You leave it with us. Let's actually support our communities to talk about. Don't tick boxes to say we spoke to Sakma. Don't tick boxes say you spoke to Man or, Unity Gym or any other. Tell us what you're actually doing. We will be, raising awareness in our communities on a culturally competent way, which is Unity Gym has been doing. Sakma does and Man does. But honestly, I think the work of those two big organizations have paid off in terms of. We're still paying off.
Because there is a normalisation of the language, and with it is the advocacy which comes with it. And with that advocacy, that is sort of like you're challenging, and you have expectations of the organisations and institutions who are responsible. People will be ill. They need to be looked after as well as they can be. I mean, if Gambinga was here, we could talk to Gambinga about restrictive practices. How, again, that's disproportionate. I know the numbers have gone down dramatically, but there's usually something else then. You have all of these sorts of things which are there, but when you're not talking about it, and I know myself as when I was growing up and I had members of my family who had mental health issues, we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, there you go.
And by not talking about it, I don't know if we actually helped our family members as well as we could have helped our family members. Because in a sense, really, we were pushing it over there.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. I think it's like that's why I'm sort of kind of fascinated by the work you're doing around the unity gym.
Yeah.
That concept, because you won't see that anywhere else. And I know like some young people from the African Caribbean communities, some of them go to the gym.
Oh yeah, they do.
It's quite a mixed group, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's quite a mix. Yeah. Some of them are just, I've known them since they were kids. So. I think every time I hear that young people are doing something to address men's mental health and mental health and well-being or mental illness or anything like that, I'm always the auntie who turns up.
Oh yeah.
You've seen me.
Yes.
I turn up to pop-up barber shops, like I'm there. Yeah, I'm there because for me, the work that the things that I've always been feeling disheartened about, no one's talking about it, no one is doing, and then you see someone from your community, a young person from the African Caribbean or African heritage and African Caribbean community, and you think, that's amazing. I don't really need to do it. I need to support you. So I always turn up for the support. Yeah, and it's so refreshing. I'm like, Aunties here. Yes, Aunties here. You're doing the job that I wanted people to do, and you're doing it great.
That business, the business thing, which the young Mohammed was running up at Pons Forge.
The Infinite.
Yeah, the Infinite.
Yeah. That kind of also events are the way I got to know Infinite Skills was really quite at the time of there was COVID happening. I was elected, and then those kind of things happening. I was part of the Race Equality Commission. There's so many things happening, and I set it up and. They've seen an area that's needed. And then you get the group of young African Caribbean young men like McCall. And then you see a group of young men like Dominic from Unity Gym doing that. And then you see in Aussie and Zakaria and who you've listened to, and Malachi doing that. And then it's just like, this is really great. This is what we need. But unfortunately, that those group I spoke about were actually around the same generation. So generations before that, their fathers or uncles didn't have that kind of support, and that's where we turn up for them. I sometimes think I'm turning up because I knew my brothers didn't get any help up there when they were your dad. When you were little, so now you're doing this, we're going to help you. But this is the thing. This makes me happy because my kids then have a generation that's addressing things.
No,
they have generation that's addressing
stuff.
And one of the kids in the BBC, the Luke North, for that presentation, Unity Gym presentation. One of them is my son.
Oh, okay.
And I remember saying to him, he was in Portugal. And they said, you're on TV. And I was like, yeah, I know that. I signed up. Because he was under 18, so I signed it. But I'm a mom who believes that when I need a mentor for my children, I don't shy away from saying, can you mentor my child? I emailed somebody the other day and I said, he's doing sports science. Can you be one of his mentors? Because he works at the Unity Gym. So he's exposed to all that, nurturing and all of that, big brothers and all of that. But it doesn't mean he doesn't need outside mentors as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
From outside the gym.
I think my fascination then is you sort of alluded to that at some point, the conversation you had when somebody came to your door before the Greens.
Yeah.
And your husband was there.
That was interesting, yes.
Yeah. You met your husband in Sheffield, or you
No,
met
we met at University Sussex.
Sussex
We've been married
University.
25 years.
Yeah, right. So she's Oxford and she's Sussex.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we met. That's where Yusuf was born. So that's where I did my social anthropology,
Yeah.
and that's where we met. But we always had, people not directly addressing me and addressing him differently, or not completely ignoring me like health visitors, just talking to him about the baby. I'm like, I carried the baby. But you always see that when you're in a mixed heritage,
So what was
marriage.
it from a? Because me and Donald, let me tell you, most of our conversations are like, literally, it's like they are boundless.
Yeah, we're boundless. Yeah.
We were talking about the whole idea. We had what's his name?
Kent.
We had Kent. Kent, who is of mixed heritage. Kent Roach. He's of mixed heritage. And I remember saying to him, I asked about his mom, because usually we will talk about, because we are from the black community, we will talk about the person who looks like us. We never really ask about
the other side.
Yeah, the other side.
But he talked about his mum straight away.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember you did ask that question. Yes.
Yeah.
So how is he?
How is it married to a Caucasian Bristolian?
Because one of the things.
That's a question, isn't it?
Yeah. No, you know why? Why for me it's fascinating. It's fascinating because our communities sometimes we sort of interact within our own, and we keep it that way.
No, I know what you mean. First, he's well into the community because he's one of the committees for Unity Gym, committee member. And growing up, my kids growing up, because we lived right here in Broomhall, as Chris was just kind of mellowed down guy who just like fixes the kids' bicycles, and they can call him uncle in Somali, Adero, Apteo. But I have seen challenges, obviously, in the sense. He's never been to Somaliland, so he might actually go next year. I'm like, we're going to go through Kenya. We'll show you what the British did to Kenya. But he's just one of the guys in the community, really. And it's really great to see when those young guys who are doing the presentation, when they do see him, how they greet each other. I'm like sitting back thinking, these men, because he's known them since they were kids in Broomhall. So it's really nice for him to kind of see my sons being mentored by their older brothers in Broomhall, and Broomhall cousins, and he's part of it. And it's, the feeling really happy to kind of see when the kids say, "Oh, we're going to be in Broomhall," and then we're going to go out with the boys, because the Broomhall is like a community that's within a community. So even though you're in Sheffield, you're like, okay, we're all cousins.
But isn't that in a way?
One of them.
But in a way, that's a part of when we want to be really positive. I think when we want to be really positive, is that we can have a lived life where we have people who we connect with, who connect really well.
Yeah.
Then outside of that can be the more problematic. But in terms of our lived connections, they work really well. And in those lived connections will be quite a few different people. But, and I want to be positive. I want to be positive. I don't want to go into a negative spiral as such about what can't be and all the difficulties, etc. Because I see a lot of really positive relationships. I mean, again, going back to Unity Gym, the people who presented.
I'm sure you like some of those.
They presented a unity. That's what they presented. They presented a unity of different people. Yes, it was, you had a sense that it was a sort of Somali-led, but actually it wasn't Somali only. It was of all. We just happened to be 2 guys or 3 guys there who basically thought we should set this up. And we set it up for the young people of this place.
They start
and in that mix, there's an auntie.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. In the mix and auntie too. Aunties could come from many different backgrounds,
I know.
just like uncles could come from many different backgrounds.
I'm so
if they
glad.
can do it with love, and we know love.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The beginning of Unity Gym was when a young African Caribbean kid got killed here and unalived in this area, and it's like, I don't know, I'm in my family own ship in Somaliland. So if you actually do something, a noise, and the ship just kind of runs everywhere, every direction. That's how the kids were.
Yeah.
Just not knowing what's going on. Who came into the area?
Yeah.
And in fact, it was just, they came into the area, nobody knew who they were. And that's how it started. But when Saeed approached authorities and different people, he was met with negativity. Like, you know. And what I did that day at the event, I invited someone who believed him from that day, and went his way, and then Saeed, carried on with Unity Gym. And at that celebration or that presentation of the mental health, mental illness research with Will Mason and University, I kind of surprised Saeed. I told Phil, but I didn't tell Saeed, because he was one of the first youth workers in the Safe Neighborhood officers to believe him that he's going to do this. And that was 2009 when he was talking about it. And I remember saying to Phil, do you want to come to this? And he was like, yes, please. When he came, I didn't tell Saeed, I just said to somebody outside. So while all of that was happening in Isra, Saeed went out, and I said, okay, he's not here yet. So I asked Phil to just come in. Saeed's eyes just went, because it then brought it home that was the first person. I'll send you the post that he put on LinkedIn. That was the first person to believe in what he was doing. And today, honestly, the many families that I'm doing research with, and those I advocated for, and those whose children have gone through the criminal justice system, and every single one of them that comes and walks through that door are supported because the resilience of Saeed and the volunteers. Because everybody's a volunteer, nobody gets paid, for that as well. But it didn't go without support as well. It was one of Majid's charities, just to amplify and capacity building wise. It's in my area now. Malachi supports it, so other different elected members in the area kind of obviously support it as well. In just what you need is you need people to amplify and build your capacity, rather than if they don't have money, could they put you on their platform?
But so what keeps you motivated?
The need is really it's there, and it might have not dimmed down. It's there. The need is always there because there's different generations coming up. There's different families needing support, and it's a kind of like in the context of the family rather than just young people themselves. Because if you're supporting 10 or 15 young people during the holidays, their mothers and their family can actually then do other things that they can. And now the girls group, were Broomhall Girls Group, are part of Unity Gym, because they were brought in. So you probably know Sarah Ahmed.
We met at the... she was at the event.
Infinite Skills. But there's loads of melting pot of young people and organizations doing really good things in Sheffield. We should have, we should have our own, as a black community, we should have our own awards for our communities. Because we're always looking for somebody to recognize us. We need to recognize ourselves.
No, that's true.
We need to try and actually get, young men who, these guys I kind of name dropped, but there's so many others that actually come to when they walk into the barber shop, I'm like, I just want to hug them all. Like, so many of them, because they make it there. They went there.
We're getting towards the end, and we always ask a question. I don't know who's going to ask this question.
You go ahead.
Okay.
Actually, first of all, I was going to ask about, how far the book is going.
Yeah, my dissertation. So unfortunately, I had health problems, and although everything's written, analyzed, written, everything's done. I'm just editing chapter by chapter. So I'm editing the 3rd chapter. It's going to be about 6 of them. Right. So I'm halfway editing that. I'm parking it, having my operation, coming back, and just having the last push of the dissertation. And it's going to be really. It hasn't been. I'm not going to lie. It hasn't been easy. Not only time-wise, because it's taken me a long time, but it hasn't been easy in terms of researching emotionally driven kind of research. You know, it's like the trauma of it. You know, you take out of, you're translating, you're recording, listening, and then you're translating and transcribing and analyzing and writing about it. So you can just imagine those interviews are difficult to hear, but you are visiting it about 6-7 times before you finalize it. And that's been horrendous, to be honest. But I have good support. That's the good thing. At Unity Gym, being one of them, my supervisor is absolutely brilliant. I couldn't ask for any better than those two. And my husband and kids have been, and also the mums in the area. They're like, "Do you want to come out for dinner? You want to go to this bar? Do you want your hair done?" One of them did my hair the other day.
Because that's really the last question for us, which is, how do you, you're very, very busy, you're very, very active, you're engaged in some really important work. What do you do just to manage your own wellness?
I manage my wellness in just a switching off. I think sometimes we need to take things off our desk, and this is what my supervisor said: just get off your desk, Kaltum. Get off your desk. And it might actually seem like a small thing to do, but once you do that, something shifted. You've done it. I remember doing my master's for the PhD was part of it, and also trying to read motions for the council, and just having one on this side and having another on this side.
And have 4 children and have a husband.
And 4 children.
And boys.
Boys, all boys, including my husband.
5.
But also having a political conflict with other parties as well. So if you don't actually do the amendment, or if you're not, there's always people judging you and saying, "Wow, they didn't do a good job, did they?" Yeah. So all of that, and I think I've done all of that because of the support that I get from my boys, and especially the older ones, and Chris, my husband, but also my supervisors have been brilliant. They're like, just relax. It's like, mellow down. Do you want to come and have coffee with me? So I would sometimes have coffee with either Anne Brum or just so I can sit down and have a chat with him. He'd be like, "Okay, just leave it there. Have you left it there? Yeah, okay, fine." The other way that actually I cope with is, I know that this research is going to be seen as or change many things, because there's a huge gap that it fits into. But also, I feel that I am doing something for a community that has not been looked at in the sense of responses to youth violence and families. So that's what drives me and what relaxes me. Those families relax me as well. So they're like, "Come and eat food." So it's all these moms looking after me as well. They're brilliant. Yeah. All of them are great.
Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Actually, definitely. Thank you. Thank you for
just waffle. But
no.
We freestyled it.
We freestyled it. We always freestyle it because it's got to be a conversation.
It has to be a
conversation. You can't script a conversation.
I know.
You can't script how you feel.
No, absolutely not.
And the things you talked about there, I mean, so many things. You've got a lot of background there.
There's a lot. That's it. So I'm waiting for your autobiography.
Oh my God!
You know what I'm saying? And
we'll all be in it if I ever do it.
And I'm first. I really am. I also kind of just to mention your husband, because to have that kind of person on your side. for 25 years.
Yeah.
And 4
Believed in
boys.
everything I was
4
doing.
boys.
And
4 boys,
taste-
and 5 including him.
it really,
I'm not counting the cat because it's a male too.
you know,
A male cat as well.
male
I've
There's a lot of testosterone
I
going
think
on there.
sometimes I think sometimes we downplay
The role of this power.
yes, the roles of the people who are by our side as we battle on, and I applaud him too, and I applaud you also for the work you're doing in the community, and we appreciate you.
Yeah.
And
I
thank
appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
I've been watching you and going, oh, this is so nice. Every single one of them, I actually watched.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, part of my relaxation. Come
No,
on.
really, well, yes,
So
we can put people to
next
sleep.
time, hopefully,
No,
we'll-
it's good.
No,
Next time we will probably invite the Unity Gym guys.
Yes, that would be
Really
brilliant.
should.
It would
You
be
know,
brilliant.
to-
I'd also like, I'm putting a shout out there for Muna.
Muna
Abdi.
Abdi, you know
Yes.
what? I honestly, can I just say last bit of, first of all, my husband, I love you. You've been absolutely brilliant. My brothers actually said it. And without him, honestly, I could not have done any of the things that I've done. So putting on my dissertation is not enough. It's just literally see how sane I am.
Yeah.
Going through all of those things is because of him. But Muna has been an amazing mentor. You know, when you've got somebody in the younger generation, you know, younger than you, now a mom. So she's kind of like, I'm mentoring her now. Or something. But throughout my PhD, Muna's been really brilliant. So she's always checking on me, and I'm always like, I don't know what to do with this methodology, and she's like, all right. And her book is amazing. I think we need to talk about
I
her
haven't
book
seen her
one
for
day.
ages, so it'd be great to see her again.
Maybe we could go and
Yes.
visit her. There you go.
Yes, ma'am.
Visit
Yes, ma'am.
Muna.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much
very
for
much.
inviting
Oh,
me.
well, brilliant
I'm
stuff.
privileged.
No, this has been awesome.
Yes.
This has been worth the wait. And so also kind of we thank Steph because Steph.
It's Steph. My
Steph was the
lovely
one-
Steph,
Oh,
yeah.
Steph is
We have a
awesome.
lot in common. That
Yeah.
is, she's unbelievably great, Steph.
I'm also
So-
waiting for her book. You know, one day when she decides to.
Oh,
to
she will write.
a book.
Unless she's going to write it with me. You never know.
You never know.
Never know.
It should be done.
Collaborative research that we do, yeah.
And then when we actually do an awards evening or something, a yearly event, you know, like that celebrates Black Joy as she classed it, where
Yeah.
we can.
Oh, Black Joy,
What's the
yeah.
word that she said? She said where we can conspire, where we can, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
There's so many people out
strategize.
there as well. One of the things which has been a joy for me, with this podcast is when you get to talk to people and you hear about some of their journey,
Yeah.
and you realise, boy, there's so much out there in terms of energy, drive, talent,
Yeah.
many firsts.
Yes.
We've heard so many firsts.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just
I
been
know.
incredible, the first.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we think to ourselves, because so lots of things are scattered, you don't think
Yeah.
much is happening.
True.
And then
Yes,
actually,
yes.
Yeah.
you start to talk to people. You think, wow, I can't believe you.
It's like there's a term that Errol Leicester used last week. He says, you know, my mom was out there squirreling. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like the things that are happening all over the place, but somehow it's like progress, no matter how little it is, but it's still kind of moving forward. And I think sometimes it can be lost in the other nonsense.
Well, progress
that we
often
really-
it has a counter. You know, you go forward, it actually sometimes means someone's wanting to kick back. It's no surprise, it's not by accident that Trump gets elected after Obama.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not.
Yes. It's never an accident.
Now, whether or not it goes right back to where he would like it to go back to, which is a sort of Jim Crow years, is one thing. But, which is what I think he would love it to be. He'd like it to be 1938 again, wouldn't he?
There was a I saw a clip recently. Says, there's always some old guy who's ready to basically is at the end of their journey, but who still kind of looks back at some far gone era that is irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah.
And wants us to send us back to
Wants
the
us
story.
back there. When it's gone.
When it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So me, I'm looking forward, you know, like to where you are gonna be taking, where you are going next. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to taking you guys with me because it's not about me. It shouldn't be about me. It's about all of
do a
us.
documentary.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
but it's not about me. On word of advice, if you go into a platform, it's not about you. It's not just about you. It's not just about you.
I know the life to be about